All right, well, the price of airfare and hotels may go up if one plus-size influencer has her way. She wants special treatment for bigger bodies, such as free airline seats, free hotel room and upgrades. And also, hotels should also always build wider hallways and elevators. She realizes that all of these retrofits will be expensive, and she says that's just going to make it more expensive for everybody. Are you okay with that? You want to pay some more so that all existing travel amenities can be made bigger for bigger bodies. Well, that's what she says. We've shown you before Jalen Chaney. She's a plus-size blogger who launched a petition that the FAA would require all airlines to offer plus-size people a second airline seat for free. She says that there's no reason I should be forced to fit into one seat. I should always get two. To which I say, you never traveled with a small baby and had a lap infant. Like, I would have liked that second seat for free too, but that's not how it works. Now, she said this back in June, and now she has over 18,000 signatures. Oh, in June she did. Now she has over 35,000. She also says that she's making over 6 figures as a brand influencer with brands such as Google, McDonald's, Afterpay, Poshmark, and Hilton Hotels, because she goes on her TikTok and Instagram and advocates for basically retrofitting the world for bigger bodies.
And they love that. Let's just be clear about this, right? I said this before and I'll say it again. Of course, these brands want a fat influencer to push their processed foods, right? Because more people, they want fatter people, right? This is the idea. And so, of course, these big brands like Unilever and so forth that own all of these processed food brands under their umbrella.
Right, McDonald's.
They would absolutely love for a fat influencer to get up there and say, hey, just, accept me, accept my body, accept it. We should all have this fat acceptance. Of course, these big brands that sell processed food would love that.
Sure.
They can sell more processed food and get away with it.
Yes, you're making a valid point. She doesn't call herself a fat influencer like the woman we spoke about last week and Unilever. She calls herself a plus size inclusive body advocate or something like that. It's a much softer landing. And I'm not here to take her down at all or be mean. I do not want to be mean. She's choosing to live this way. She should have the right to live this way, right? And she has the right to make money off of her channel just as much as this woman here. This is Eugenia Cooney. You may have seen her on TikTok. She is basically the opposite. She's dancing to Selena, but I've taken the music out so we don't get a copyright violation. She has 2.4 million TikTok followers. Obviously,
now, hasn't TikTok also banned her or taken her down?
She's back. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe she was, I think, banned from Instagram as well. I mean, neither of these people should be influencing people, in my opinion, or perhaps we can discuss that because clearly they're both pathological. But they have the right to their channels and to live this way.
They have a right to free speech.
Right.
Right. They have absolutely a right to free speech. I think it's interesting. A couple of things. Can we say this? Is that if they banned her because, for whatever reason, if like TikTok banned her because they thought that parading around like that is incredibly unhealthy and you're like a walking skeleton.
Then why the opposite is allowed?
Right? I mean, I'm saying both are incredibly unhealthy, right? So, but TikTok is like chosen to like
one extreme only.
To ban one extreme, a walking skeleton. And then the fat influencer is fine. Like, we can promote that. It's just, isn't it funny to think about? And
can we apply the same tenets of acceptance to Eugenia Cooney? Like, well, you want to live like that. You want to never eat and look like you're about to fall over by a stiff breeze all the time. I don't know. We should be accepting of anorexic bodies. Okay. I mean, I guess clearly we are because, she's got a channel that's popular. Now, we'll talk about media roles later. So what Jalen Chaney, back to her, is saying that we need to reorder society. She already went to airplanes, that she wanted wider airline aisles between the aisles, and she wanted bigger bathrooms, much bigger bathrooms, and she wants a second seat for free. Now she's saying we need to advocate for hotels to be size inclusive, and listen to how she says that can be the case.
We deserve an environment that respects our needs and body diversity. These are the exact steps that hotels can take to be more size inclusive and accessible for travelers of all sizes. Number 1 on the list, provide sturdy, wider chairs without armrests in guest rooms, lobbies, and common areas to accommodate different body sizes and types. Number 2 on the list, ensure beds with strong support and a higher weight capacity, along with providing reinforced chairs and wider bathroom facilities. Number 3, make elevators and hallways spacious to allow for easy movement of larger individuals and those utilizing mobility devices. Number 4, install grab bars in showers and near toilets. Offer adjustable handheld shower heads and raised toilet seats for added accessibility. Number 5, train staff to be respectful, understanding, and accommodating to travelers of all sizes. Number 6, provide pool lifts and handrails at the entry of the pool. This will allow for plus-size guests and guests with different abilities to enjoy all amenities. Number 7, hotel restaurants should have roomy seating options and sturdy chairs, ensuring that everybody can dine comfortably. Number 8, offer larger beach and pool seating. Provide oversized loungers and seating at the beach and pool areas, allowing travelers of all sizes and abilities to be comfortable. Number 9, hotels should provide size-inclusive bathrobes. These should go up to a size 6X and beyond. And hotels should also provide bath sheets or plus-size friendly towels so that travelers of all sizes and abilities can use them comfortably. And last but not least, this is an important one. Display clear and accurate information on these amenities on hotel websites. Include weight limits, seat dimensions, and things like that. And include information on the size-inclusive amenities available. This will help plus-size travelers make informed decisions. By implementing these size-inclusive hotel amenities, hotels can become more inclusive and accommodating. Be sure to hit that follow button for more plus-size travel tips and share this with someone who you think would help.
Get the hell out of here.
Okay, so
I mean, hold on.
Rebuild the whole hotel, basically.
So I just was doing a little search here because she mentioned, buy pool lifts, like at the pool. Here's just one item I found right here. Here's one little, this isn't even like a proper professional one. $13,000 just to put in a pool lift.
And you know how often those things break? You always see an out of order sign on them.
It's wrapped in police tape because it doesn't work. Yeah.
Yes.
So just buy a couple of those and then buy, handrails for your bathrooms and buy, she wants
the whole hotel built. Rebuilt.
She basically wants a whole hotel rebuilt.
Every hotel.
Just think about New York City for a second. Okay, those hotels. Yes, I would love larger elevators in a New York City hotel. If you go to London, you would love larger elevators in a hotel in London. Ain't gonna happen. The city is hundreds of years old. You're not getting new giant elevators. That's not going to happen. And who's going to carry the burden of this cost because you want to travel more easily because you're morbidly obese? I mean, really? And you want us to pay for this?
Well, she has admitted that demanding more for obese people will mean increased costs for everyone. She said that when advocating for free seats on planes. So yes, non-plus size people will pay more. She's A-okay with that. And then also, no chairs should have armrests at all. So if you're the kind of person who likes an armrest, that's a bigoted thing.
Let me just say this. Chairs without armrests are the worst. Natalie once, when I first...
No, don't talk about the uncomfortable couch.
Natalie had a couch that she bought, and it was one of those couches that had no armrests. And I don't know what convinced her to get it and buy this thing. It was back when we were dating.
At a trendy...
It was one of those trendy
West
stores.
Village furniture store that I bought in New York City. And I was like, that looks good.
And I called it the uncomfortable couch because you couldn't sit and rest. It was like you're in a doctor's office waiting to go get your teeth cleaned or something. So chairs without armrests, the worst, right? And just because you are morbidly obese, now you want all hotel chairs to be accommodating for your waist. It's absurd.
Right. Bigger toilets. She says bigger bathrooms and towels. I guess beds have a weight capacity that she maybe has exceeded in her past or knows that she can. And so she has to... We need reinforced beds now. Again, that means if you're not obese, you should subsidize travel for people who are. And think about how this would extend beyond travel, right? Because if it's just the travel industry, then it's going to have to be done for government buildings, office buildings, schools, public transportation.
Here's an idea.
Police and fire departments. You can see her saying, you need, fire departments to have this evacuation plan for bigger bodies, how that's going to go, right? There's nowhere this ends.
No. And then cities, of course, then have to foot the bill for this, right? They have to go in and buy all sorts of additional equipment in order to remove a large body from a building, right? Who's footing the bill? The taxpayers are going to foot that bill in that community to get some sort of a large conveyor belt contraption to remove a person from a third floor burning building, right? We now need some sort of a special forklift to go up and get this larger person out. On top of which, now I lost my train of thought. It was a good point, and I lost it.
All right. Well, hold on. Maybe you'll get it back. I want to remind you how CNN covered her story a few months ago when she launched the FAA petition. They had this expert saying, I'm concerned to see this type of an argument being advanced where immutable characteristics of a person are being used for assessing fees. It can be a slippery slope. They're saying that an airline should not charge her more for an immutable characteristic. So according to the liberal media, being overweight is immutable. You cannot change it. Your gender, mutable. Change that.
So immutable, right? You cannot change the fact that she's morbidly obese?
That this is an immutable characteristic and that you should not be charged more for something you can't change, like, I don't know, being big boned or whatever. These are truly confusing narratives.
Okay, I remember what I was going to say.
All
and
right,
I think it's worth. I'm glad we waited for it.
Let's circle back.
It's a brilliant idea. No, the idea that we live in a capitalistic society, right? So if there was such a demand for large airline seats, why? Hey, they launched Hooters Airways. Right?
Yeah.
That didn't do so well. I never flew on Hooters Airways, but there's low-cost airlines that are successful.
Pet Airways.
I went on Pet Airways one time to do a segment back on my old Fox days. But why not create Jumbo Jet Airlines and call it, and it's for overweight. We have plus-size stores in the mall. There's plus-size stores. They're in the mall, and people shop there. We could create Jumbo Airlines. Right, mm-hmm. Jumbo Airlines, and they cater to jumbo-sized passengers.
Sure,
why not?
Why not?
Right?
And then they pay for their own retrofitting.
And the seats are super wide.
Well, inevitably, fuel will be more expensive with heavier cargo like that. Right?
Or maybe not, because you'd have fewer people, right? So you might have an airplane with fewer people.
Maybe you'd have fewer people. I was thinking about this idea of like reordering society based on certain populations. And I thought, well, okay, if she gets her way, the world is reordered for bigger people. But what about people with dwarfism? That's going to make their lives worse. Their lives that are already hard because ATMs are not fit for them, certain beds, certain showers. So then we'd be choosing, right? What about children? You want a higher toilet? Well, already children need like little step stools to get up to the toilets we have because they are not adults. But sadly, obesity is way more common than dwarfism. So we are choosing like which population, right, might need more attention. If we just choose based on commonality, obesity wins because 1 in 3 adults are overweight in the U.S. and only 1 in 15,000 has dwarfism. So statistically, J-Bay has power in numbers.
Well, it'd be interesting because in the United States, we love the tyranny of the minority right now. We love things that are, there's one person out of 1,000 who's crying in the street and yelling about something, and then we cater to that one person who wants to identify as a dog, right? So now we need to put grass patches in every courtyard, or some person wants to identify as a cat, so we need to put litter boxes in hotel lobbies now, one person out of 10,000. So we cater to the minority of people in the United States. So the fact that there's a majority of obese people, it's kind of odd that we're actually going along with this. But on the dwarfism piece, I have a lot to say. I'm thinking about, should we just start to put stools in front of every ATM machine now? We have to retrofit everything because of dwarfism in the United States?
Well, I don't think there's even an advocacy movement like that. I mean, maybe there is, and I just don't know, but I have not heard advocacy for other special groups like this. When we spoke about this back in June, I left the last word to Douglas Murray, who talks about going at the speed of the slowest kid in the class and the consequences for the majority of us who say, okay, I will never sit in chairs with armrests anymore. okay, I'll pay more because these places are too small and the whole world needs to be engorged, right? I'm going to do that again. I really like this bit of a speech that he gave earlier this year, and let's just leave it to him.
What would we be doing? What would we be striving for and seeking to achieve in a country like this one? What would be our aims? What would be our ambitions? What would we wish to become? The left is making us go at the speed of the slowest kid in the class. And we need to say, we don't have time for this. The left talks about unleashing talent, but nowhere where their attempts have been made has it yet worked. Everything that they have come up with in our era, whether it is DIE or CRT or any of these other things, none of them have worked anywhere. Not in one country, not in one district, not in one school. They have worked nowhere, not in a hedge fund, not in a bank, not in a supermarket, not in any corporate office. And yet, this idea that has worked nowhere is in the process of being rolled out everywhere. That is madness. It is madness to try to follow a process that has never yet unleashed talent. I would also suggest that instead of only talking about minority rights, we also once again remember that there is a thing called majority rights. That as important as minority rights are, majority rights matter as well. You might like to help 0.2% of the population, but how about giving a damn about 51%? Right,
so that's a great point. What about the 51%? What about the majority? Are we so focused on, the special needs group that we forget that there's an entire population and we could be doing other things that are much more productive? So let us know what you think of this in the chat below.
Yeah, unbelievable. Someone in the chat said, a lot of people totally agree with us on this. One person says, does Clayton hate fat people? Absolutely not. I'm overweight. So
You're not.
I'm not morbidly obese, but I guess, I feel I have a little extra pounds. But no, I don't hate it. What I don't want is someone forcing businesses to, or taxpayers to have to foot the bill for things that are absolutely, absolutely ridiculous. I mean, I don't know what else to say it. I mean,
and I have a close family member that has fought diabetes since, they were young, and it's excruciating to watch because of weight problems. And this person has kicked it, and I'm so proud. I've shared stories about this on my Twitter feed, but nobody wants to live like that. It's incredibly painful. And you can lie to yourself and say, well, this is how it is, and I'm okay with it. But your joints hurt. You feel awful. Everything's inflamed. I, don't want anybody making fun of anybody, but I don't want anybody to live in pain like that.
And we don't want people to have to then change everything about their business because someone wants to live that way and be an influencer on TikTok and tell us that we need to, now everyone should feel fine about eating processed food, and we need to retrofit every hotel, and you need to get free airline seats for everything, and every handrail needs to be changed, and ramps need to be built, all because you are morbidly obese. Like, it's,
Yeah.
I just, if I became morbidly obese, I wouldn't expect that airlines give me an extra seat for free.
Right.
I would expect, okay, man, I really let myself go. I have to pay for 2 seats now.
But I'm still in the mindset, like when we lived in New York City, there was this uppity woman who always was walking her dog and get really upset, like at yielding way to my stroller. And I had a small baby, and she would be like, oh, of course, babies are more important than dogs. And I was like, that's right, my baby is, and because it was like a power struggle. And so I still kind of feel that, like, if you're a mom of small kids, you should get the extra seat, not someone, like if we're really giving away extra seats, it should be to lap infants. Not to, people with larger bodies. That's how I feel about
overweight,
it.
yeah. TikTok influencers. Anyway, let us know your thoughts on this. By the way, kind of an update on Speaker McCarthy being ousted. I don't know how many of you tuned in just a few minutes ago, but yes, Matt Gaetz, they vote in the House floor. Speaker McCarthy is out. And diving through the historic nature of this vote, this is the first time. It's come up 3 times where there's been a vote to vacate the House speakership.
Oh, it's the first successful vote.
It's the first successful one. The last time that this even happened, that it got to a vote, was in 1910. And that was overturned, so that didn't even happen. 3 times it's been brought up in American history, never has happened before. This is the first time that a Speaker of the House has been ousted. I think my history is correct on this, but the last time that it was even tried was 1910. So Speaker McCarthy, out.
Sensitive. You're in a sensitive mood, darling.
Go put your Ukraine flag pin on and walk around Washington, D.C. See if you can get a lobbying job. I am not sensitive at all about that. All right, we got more news to get to here on your Tuesday. We're going to talk about the Canadian government and Trudeau locking down on journalists and independent media. Thank you so much for watching this segment here at Redacted. We are live every day at 4 p.m. Eastern Time, trying to share the stories that the mainstream media will not cover. You should also come over and join our community of Redacted Rebels over at redacted.inc. That's our private locals community where we can share exclusive content that we simply cannot share here on YouTube. Come over and join the rebellion together right now by going to redacted.inc. We'll see you next time.